Alright, as promised, it's time for the rig walk around. This is the turtle. This is my 2015 Tacoma TRD Pro. It was a wreck. We buy a lot of vehicles through auction. This one was a front impact with no frame damage. Truthfully, it really wasn't a bad impact other than airbags. All the airbags went off, which will typically get a vehicle totaled because airbags are expensive. So let's kind of look at the rig and give you guys a walk around, and we'll also look at the GFC, how it deploys, what I've done to it, what I think could be better, what I think or what I love. And I've spent 3 weeks or so out of the GFC, and I've spent a lot more time than that out of the truck, a couple months. So sure, let's start here in the front with the C4 Fabrications Low Pro bumper. This is for the 2012 to 2015 Tacomas. I have the 30-inch light bar cut out, as you can see here, and the winch mount. I have a Element LED light bar. I've been happy with it. I had a cheap Amazon before that, and I hated it. I also have an X2O Smittybilt 10,000-pound winch. Now, Smittybilt doesn't have the best name, and probably for good reason, but this is my third of these X2O winches, and I've had no problems. It has gotten me out of every jam I've ever needed a winch for, and because I'm not a rock crawler and I only use a winch, 5 or 6 times a year, it was somewhere where I don't want to say sacrifices could be made, but kind of. It's somewhere where I could not justify the price of a Warren. Now, for you, if you are a rock crawler and you're going to be using that winch all the time, or going down trails where you really think you're going to need it more than a few times a year, it may be worth spending the money to you to get the Warren. For me, this has been perfect. I've had one on multiple Jeeps. We just put one on my dad's Porsche. I have no problems. It's been great. Because I had to replace the grill, I went with a mesh-style front grill. I was able to find this one pre-painted. So it was just a drop-in replacement. It already was inserted and painted. So that just made it a little bit easier, and truthfully got me my truck back running sooner after the wreck, or after getting it. I did not go with the TRD Pro headlights. The TRD Pros have a little bit of a blackened out chrome. They're a little bit darker. They look great. They're also like $400 a piece, and I just couldn't justify the extra money. I did originally put in a set of knockoff TRD Pro headlights, and I hated the light cutoff on them. So I went back with a standard Tacoma headlight. They're OEMs. They're actually not LED bulbs. I put those in originally, and once again, as everyone says, and as I should know better, if you don't have a projector-style lens, an LED is just not right for you. The fog lights are also stock. I've switched out bulbs a couple times in them to higher wattage halogens, and it throws a lot more light, and I like them, but they also burn out pretty quick. Moving on from there, let's take a look at the front suspension. As you can see here, I've upgraded the upper control arms. These are the SPC uppers, and so far I really like them. They allow for a little bit more travel, and they are greasable, so that's been a great investment. The springs and shocks are the Bilsteins. They are the 6100s. It's actually the same shock that comes stock on the TRD Pro. I replaced it because from the factory they only had a couple of adjustable perches on the shock, and because I was adding some weight to the front, I needed a little bit stiffer spring. So I replaced the fronts with new 6100s with more perches, bumped them up a perch, stiffened it up, and made up for the weight of the winch in the front bumper. Moving on from there, let's take a look right here, and these are the Mobtown off-road sliders. They're a little bit dirty right now. Mobtown Off-Road. I love their sliders. They look fine, but they also look like all the rest. The big thing is the way they mount. The frame of this truck is a C-channel. A lot of sliders bolt through that C-channel, but can cause a lot of extra tweaking and twisting if you use the sliders to their full extent. The Mobtown Off-Road sliders have a piece that goes to the inside of the C-channel and the outside, and you sandwich the C-channel with metal from both sides, both strengthening the frame and the mount points for those sliders. To me, it was worth the 2-month wait to go ahead and get sliders that I know I can rely on. I have jacked up the truck with these sliders. I have dropped them on rocks. I have abused them heavily, and they're perfect. I have zero complaints. Let me also show you this. If you can see, these have the kick out. So you'll notice the back sticks out more than the front. If you can kind of see that here. From this angle, you can see that. I chose to get the kick out, even though it was a little bit more expensive, because if I'm ever coming up against a rock or a tree, and I am using these as protection, in other words, I slide the truck up against these, that kick out pushes the entire truck over, the back end of a truck, away from whatever that obstacle is, allowing the back end of a truck to clear with less likely to be damaged if I can slide the back of the truck around and can clear that rock or obstacle. So it's worth the extra money to me to go ahead and clear any potential problems with those kickouts. Moving on from there, let's take a peek in the back. So if you'll look in here, yeah, we can kind of see. These are, once again, it's the stock TRD Pro shocks. They are the 5160s with external reservoirs by Bilstein. But the leaf springs are not stock. I went with the Dakars, which is made by Old Man Emu. Honestly, I would not do it again. There are different shapes of eyelets where the leaf springs mount to the hangers. And the style that's on the Old Man Emu is not ideal. The Dakars they're just not great. The Devers are much better. And also, if I switch out the hangers, which I intend to do because the thin sheet metal ones in the back can easily be bent, if I switch out those hangers and put in greasable shackles, the second leaf up will actually rub and bump on those new shackles. So you have to cut the springs, which is not ideal. So I will probably end up replacing them with the Devers. Other than that, I got them with an extra 500-pound load, which makes up for the GFC and for the weight of the stuff when we do a big trip, and doesn't make the back settle. They've worked flawlessly. I haven't had any problems other than they squeak like crazy. They have a polyurethane bushings, and I've taken them out. I've greased them. I've done about everything I can, and they still squeak. They have the little separators in between each of the leaf, but it's just not enough. So a little annoying, but what can you do? From there, let's take a look up here. A gentleman on the Tacoma World Forum is making these. They're basically Prinsu racks. Let's be honest, they're just a Prinsu knockoff. The reason I went with these, so it's standard aluminum extrusion, which is easy to bolt to. And right here, if you can see, it is cut out perfectly for my GoFastCamper. So because of that, I was able to pick it up directly from him without having to modify it. Bolt it up, easy as could be. Some advice: if you do get a Prinsu or something similar, and you think you have put enough silicone down inside the holes that this bolts to, you're wrong. Put more. I had to put a ton of silicone down in the bolts, the bolt holes when I bolted them together. The first time I got water leakage into the roof, and it did not smell good. So use all the silicone you have. As you can see, I have a 100-watt LED panel on top. Listen to me. A solar panel on top, as well as a cheap Amazon light, which I'll be replacing soon. And I guess I can show you the wiring on the other side. Oh, and then I have these Element LED side pods just for lighting up around camp. While we're up here, let me show you this. This is a this is all just extrusion and pieces you can buy offline. I put them together in order to make a rack. GFC sells a rack. It's great. It's a little bit out of my price range for what it is, and I was able to put this together thanks to a couple guys on the forums had these part lists, and was like, hey, cut it to this size, thread it, and you're done. And they were right. This has been a great rack. I can throw my kayaks on top, or right now I just have my traction mats on top, and that works really well. Those are off-brand traction mats. I've used them a dozen times. They are definitely burning off. I think the Max Tracks will be my next investment. Unless someone can come up with a better off-brand one, it may be worth spending the money. Especially because I think some of the new Max Tracks have replaceable spurs, little spikes, which would be nice. So, circling around to the back, the bumper is stock and dented up, and then just a cheap Harbor Freight tow hitch, like a receiver for being able to pull out other vehicles, which I have used it quite a bit recently, actually. One of my first off-roading trips, I managed to rip the original trailer hitch or trailer plug out of the back because it's mounted underneath here. It's a horrible location, so I moved it to here. It works fine. I just rewired it. It still seals up. Now it doesn't get ripped off. Alright, taking a look under the hood, we'll start here. I replaced the stock battery with this AGM battery. They had a deal running, and it's nice to have a deep cell. I was also changed out on the second gens. There is a fuse that I can change out, which has a resistor in it, which makes the alternator think the battery is lower than it is and allows it to charge to the 14 plus volts that the AGM needs to, or what the 13. I'll have to go back and do the research. When I first got it, I had figured out what the voltage needed to be and got the appropriate fuse from that. Took a little while to come in from Australia, but now this stays topped off, and I have a Bluetooth battery monitor that I can, keep an eye on my battery, make sure everything's good there. This right here is a large solenoid that I use to kick my winch on and off. You can't power your winch through the Switch Pro. It'll fry it or pop the breaker on it. So the Switch Pro kicks the solenoid, which actually powers my 10,000-pound winch. Speaking of the Switch Pro, as you can see, I have it bolted up right here. If you're wondering about this is all the wires that I'm not currently using. So I just have them zip tied out of the way. The rest are here and running down through there. I absolutely love the Switch Pro. It's great. It's the second one I've had. I like the Bluetooth control. I like... there's nothing I don't like. It's just easy to install. It's easy to set up. It's got a lot of options. I can double click the button and kick it into strobe mode and encourage people to either not hit my vehicle or to move out of the fast lane. Not that I would do that. It's got a lot of just great features, and I like it. So I have the Switch Pro there. What else have I done under the hood? I did replace the secondary air intake it's for the emission system. It's a weird thing that Tacoma does, but I replaced the stock filter with this one because the stock filter will eventually degrade and suck pieces of foam into your motor, causing a lot of damage, and it's very expensive to fix. So I did that. Oh, and here you can see a little bit better that CB antenna mount. So that's pretty much it for under the hood. I guess let's take a look inside here. Sorry, I've got a bunch of camera gear and my breakfast in here still. So I went with the WeatherTech floor mats. They fit pretty well. I mean, they're not 100% perfect, but they fit well enough, and they have saved my carpet from many a disaster. So I have the fronts and the backs. They've been good. And then up here, let's take a look. This is my Switch Pro. Nope, wrong. If we take a look up here, this is my Switch Pro. It is located right there. Expedition Essentials made this bracket. So I love that mounting location. It's just out of the way. I do have leather seats. I had these are cat skins, and I had them done in black and orange with TRD Pro stitched because I had to replace these seats anyway, or the seat covers. They were originally the fabric, and because the airbags blew through them, I had to replace them. So I went back with leather, I went back with heated, and I ran those heating buttons right here. If you can see right there, those empty switches. So that works great. Speaking of stuff, here is my CB. It's the Anytone Smart, and it mounts in that little cubby perfectly and holds the CB. The mic. I have upgraded LED lights for there and for these, which these I love because I can do red or white. These are the MESO LEDs. They're great. I love them. I also tied in a USB plug off of my my lights, off the always on power, and it can charge up GoPros and dash cams and whatever I want off that. This right here is the Tech Deck. The Tech Deck allows you to mount these RAM balls to it, and I just have two right now. This is for my Garmin InReach, and this can be both iPad and or phone. If you pull this out, this can drop down in height depending on what you need for iPad or for my phone, and then you just put this in here, and there's a line device there. Click, locked. So that's that. One thing I did do that has been a real lifesaver, especially when I was towing a trailer before I put everything on the back, was this. So, turn the key on, let this come up. Hey, new subscriber on YouTube, awesome. So, we'll let this, okay, so we see that I have my radio, which is a stock radio. If I come up here to my Switch Pro and I hit the rear camera, if you can see, yep, you can see I have my rear camera on. So I can hit this button, turning my camera on and off, which is great for towing and for off-roading and just generally kind of knowing what's going on. All right, let's take a look at the back. So first and foremost, I keep a lot of bedding gear in this little hammock back here. It's usable, like I'll stick, let's see, rain jackets or bedding and, you know, just whatever small stuffable items I kind of need out of the way. It's great. When we do long trips, I typically pull these seats out, so they're out of the way, and that's just a great soft storage location. In the back, I have replaced the original cheap plastic storage with this MOLLE panel, and I keep my air compressor, tools, my axe, everything is on this or back here behind the seats. If we go to the other side, I'll show you some more. So let's swing around here. Here we go. So you see this MOLLE panel back here, which replaced the cheap plastic storage, which allows me to keep knives and medical gear, tools all back here and out of the way. And then I went ahead and you see the black behind this. That is all sound deadening to make up for the lack of the sound deadening that I removed in order to put this in. Something else I ordered from Tacoma World, they had a group buy, and I've been relatively happy with it. That's about it for the interior, so I guess it's about time to move on to the back. Alright, let's open this GFC up and show you what's going on back here. So 2 latches, pops it open, and then I added some LED lights. They're originally made for the back of a pickup bed. I just stuck them on top. They fit perfectly in the little seam up here, out of the way, easy to install. Following that, we have the mountain hatch tailgate. A little dirty, but it's basically cutting board material. It's more comfortable to sit on, it's more comfortable to work from. They're not cheap, but they are worth absolutely every penny. This is a just a cheap seal. It's supposed to be adhesive on both sides. The adhesive is kind of not been the best, but I have it tucked underneath of the mountain hatch, and that keeps it in place. It just keeps a lot of the dust and stuff from coming up from between the tailgate. This is some just magnetic paper towel holders from Harbor Freight. I've used them in a lot of vehicles. They're just handy to have there. And then, of course, tools. This is a very dirty, the bed rug. It's great. It's comfortable to walk on, stand on, sit on, and keeps things from sliding around. Back here, we have the water port. It's just under 4 gallons. It's enough water that we can wash dishes and stuff for a couple week trip. You don't want to take showers with it, but it's handy to have around. From there, we have squeaky springs. This little hammock up here, that's great once again for any type of soft things like bedding that we take down from upstairs, tuck in there, and it's out of the way. And then most obvious is this bench. Something my dad and I made. You'll notice it's not absolutely perfect because we modified it 3 or 4 times just in the time we were building it, but it's perfect for what I need. It is very lightweight. It is aluminum and starboard. And inside of it is all of the camping gear that I need. I'm ready to roll out, just grab some clothes and take off anytime we want to go. So keep all of my camping gear inside, and in inclement weather, it's nice because you can just sit in here once you remove these upper panels, which I'll show you soon. You can sit in here, make dinner, hang out, do whatever you need to do in the back. I believe, other than this right here, this is my Goal Zero. It's the 1000 amp hour. It's plenty large enough to run our fridge, recharge drone batteries, things like that, and it charges from both the alternator and from solar, depending on if we're moving or not. Nice thing about the GFC is every side opens, so if I need to get into my camping gear, I can easily do so right here from the side. Alright, ready to see how easy this thing is to open and why I switched to it? Alright, well, first, it's so muddy out here. I'll get more mud on my tailgate here. Alright. So, twist, slide, twist, slide. It's done. All I gotta do is that. That's all it takes. All right, you gotta admit, that's pretty slick, right? Super, super fast setup and takedown, which is why we switched away from our Tepui and moved to this. On our type of trips, we're camp every night or every morning, going to a different campsite every night, and it doesn't make sense to have something that takes too long. So for us, we can roll into camp, set this up in a couple seconds, and be ready for bed. So let's take a look at the interior now that it's all open. All right, so first and foremost, I'm gonna kick my shoes back off. It all looks the same on the interior. But if I reach up here and push, I can slide this panel out of the way. And just like that, we are up in the GFC. So I have a place to stand. We're up here. This strap helps pull the fabric of the GFC together, making it a little bit easier to close. As you can tell by how bright it is, the roof is kind of transparent or translucent, I guess, which is super, super nice. I want to put my solar panel up here. At the same time, I'm already blocking part of it with that, and I really like this translucent top, so undecided on that. I did not feel that the 2-inch mattress that comes with this was comfortable enough. So I ordered the sheets from GFC and then added an additional 1.5 inches of foam to it. I used the sheets to help hold the foam in place, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to close up because I have all this additional padding, but it's worth it. I sleep so much better with the additional padding. So that's that. Up here, these are what you roll the material, both the netting and the exterior rolls up, and uses these carabiners right here to be able to stay in place. I guess I can show you this. Let me undo this one here, if I can get it up here. Come on. Okay. So if I move that and I stick this panel there, grab this panel, toss it right there. Okay. Now I have full standing room on both sides. Then I take this cushion and I toss it up here. Now I have a work surface. So Sarah can sit down here. I can cook right here if it's really cruddy weather outside. We usually keep our fridge down here where this toolbox currently is. And if there's multiple of us that want to hang out in here, I can do this. So I can take this panel, slide it up there, slide that out of the way, and now this whole area, the equivalent of this entire 5-foot bed, is now open space. I can still set stuff up here if I need, out of the way, but it's all nice and open. Now, if you'll notice, this outer fabric is now pinned up. This is actually not a feature by GFC, but by a third party. I want to say it's like Shitco. I can link his Instagram, but he created these really nice billet cut aluminum pieces, which I'll show you here. So these, plus tent poles and these little clamp on tarp holders, which I'll show you here in a second, like little alligator clips basically. And now my GFC has an awning, which is really, really nice. It's a nice feature that I wish GFC would have done from the beginning, but oh well, what can you do? I think I'm going to order a second set because I want this side panel to open up too, because it's really nice to have that propped open and to get some nice airflow. Also, I'm assuming you did see, but it has windows with non-removable mesh that unzip all the way down. I keep them zipped part way, and then I leave, as you've probably seen, this undone, which just makes it easier to close because the air has somewhere to go. I guess now is as good a time as any to just talk about my experience with the GFC and with living out of it for a couple weeks. The GFC is not going to be for everyone. Let's start there. Yes, there's a lot of influencers on Instagram and now on YouTube that have these, and they're incredible, and I love this one, and I don't regret buying it at all. For me and for my wife, it's perfect. It sets up super quick. It has lots of room inside. It allows us to make better use of the bed of this pickup. But it is a long wait. They're not cheap. And they're always in development. They've changed fabric a couple times already. And this fabric still isn't perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. The way that, as you can see around, it has snaps that snap on the fabric to the aluminum, which is great because it's easy to remove. But for us, we have a little bit of sagging in there that allows bugs to get in. Now, the GFC's warranty is great. They've told me if I send back the fabric, they'll fix it, send it back to me, no questions asked, easy peasy. I just don't have a time when I can justify not having the GFC ready to go camping. I mean, we've been out almost every other weekend in it since we got back from our trip. We're using it all the time, and I don't want to go for a month to 2 months without it while they work my fabric into their production timeline. I mean, they're busy. They've got GFCs scheduled out for more than a year and a half, and it would take some time to work this fix back into there. Other than the bugs getting in and that loose fabric up there, which they're willing to fix, I really don't have any complaints. A lot of people have said that they have really bad condensation, and I've had some, but it hasn't been unbearable. You can just take a towel and wipe the roof down, and it's been okay. I've had a couple of friends that have cut a fan into the roof, and they say that that makes a huge difference, just getting some air circulation. It's something I'd like to do that before the summer, but during the winter it hasn't been necessary. What else? Oh, some other guys have cut, so the two matching panels that were sitting here, they've cut like 3 inches out of each, or like 1.5 inches out of each to leave a 3-inch space. And that way, if you put a heater down below, which we've done a few times, the heat has somewhere to rise and doesn't have to go through the plastic and the fabric and everything else to get up to the top. It just has a nice airway. And if you have that slot and the fan, you can get a nice breeze pulling up through it. Sorry, we had a kid and his family in a 4-door UTV, and he couldn't have been more than like 8, and he was out there driving with his family in the back. It was super cute. Anyways, let's see. Next steps for the truck. I don't know. I'm torn. I want to re-gear it. I think, though it doesn't need it as bad as my old Jeep on 373s and 35s, it could use it, and I'd get better fuel mileage if I re-geared. Which leaves me in a dilemma, because eventually I'd like to do 35s, but that requires different suspension. It requires definitely re-gearing and some other work. And so do I re-gear it to, the 33s that I have on it now, or do I re-gear it to the equivalent of to 48 gears, which is what I need for 35s? So I've got some decisions there. Also, like everyone else, I would love to do Kings. I like the adjustability of them. I can revalve them and tune them to the very specific weight that this truck is. And I think that would give me a little bit better ride. So what I'm saying is, I've done all the cheap stuff that I want to do. Everything else, like, supercharger, king suspension, gears, 35s, that all is a little out of my budget right now. And that's partly because we're saving up for a bigger trip. Without giving too many details away yet until everything's planned, there's within the next year and a half or so, we're going to be on a month-long trip. Maybe longer. Should be fun. Part of that's going to truly depend on you guys. Right now, this is not monetized. We don't have enough subscribers. We don't have enough hours of view time. But this year, I'd like to start putting out more content. I'd like to put out a few videos a month. Not just our big trips, but rig walkarounds of other people's vehicles, of changes we've made to this, of maintenance, of whatever it is that you guys want to see that would help us grow. Because I'd like to be able to do this more. I'd like to be able to take you guys on trips around the country and further. We have a trip coming up to Colorado and all the way back up into Canada, probably up towards Banff. We have a bigger trip. We have some stuff coming up that we want to bring you guys along on, but we're kind of limited because I have 2 weeks of PTO and this doesn't make any money, and so we save up as much as we can and then we go take it all in one big trip. And I would like to better grow to where we can do more. So if you guys have suggestions of stuff you'd like, videos you'd like us to do, let us know in the comments below. If you have friends that enjoy this type of adventure and you think they'd like our videos, please share it. We're going to really do our part to put out more videos and more content and just kind of see where it takes us. So anyways, our next big goal is 1,000 subscribers. We are just under 400 now. So let's see if we can begin to make that push. And yeah, let's see if we can break 1,000. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions about the vehicle, about things I've done, or things you'd like me to highlight, let me know. Let me know in the comments below, or you can let me know on Instagram. I respond to messages on there as well. So anyways, guys, I got to get packed up and get all the way to Gatlinburg, so I'm going to close out here, and I will talk at you later.